Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about Ford Broncos in the series where I talk about vehicles that I am looking at potentially adding to the little Ben Hardy off-road fleet, and my cat just climbed over the microphone, so sorry if you heard that. But anyways, before we talk about the Bronco and if I should add this, as always, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get right into the video. Okay, so let's dive into Broncos, and let's just talk about the Broncos that I would actually consider purchasing. I would either consider purchasing a Badlands Sasquatch or a Bronco Raptor. Now, the reason I'm not making a dedicated video to the Bronco Raptor is I don't think I'll be able to get one, or I don't think I'll be able to get one for such a long time that it's not really anything that's in the consideration right now, because Ford is just being ridiculous with, their allocations with the Bronco Raptor. They really need to open things up because they could sell a lot of Broncos and they could pull a lot of people from Jeep and from Land Rover and even, I think, from Mercedes as well if they opened up allocation for the Bronco Raptor. But yeah, that's pretty much why this video is dedicated to, I guess, a regular Bronco, not the Bronco Raptors. I would love to get one, and honestly, this whole series wouldn't even exist if Ford would just give me an allocation to a Bronco Raptor. Like, I would buy that and I would just move on, but probably won't be able to get one. So yeah, I guess we'll push that to the side. Now, Badlands Sasquatch. Really cool package, right? 35-inch tires, 17-inch wheels. It's got like almost 12 inches of ground clearance. It's got Bilstein position-sensitive shocks. You can get it with the modular bumpers so that they're, steel bumpers from the factory, hard top, and it has a stabilizer bar disconnect from the factory front and rear lockers. Now, the thing that's different from the Bronco to the Wranglers, the Wrangler has solid front and rear axles, whereas the Bronco has independent front suspension. So, again, this series is looking at vehicles that I'd have as like a family vehicle. That means that the Bronco is going to be more comfortable than the Wrangler from a driving perspective because of that independent front suspension. And frankly, it's going to be slightly easier to drive on road because you're not going to have that like vagueness that you get in the Wrangler. So there is that going for it. And then obviously it's super capable off-road straight out of the box. Now, it's not as good as the Wrangler. I've seen tons of off-road comparisons, and it seems like a Bronco with 35-inch tires can pretty much keep up with the Wrangler Rubicon with 33-inch tires. And since I have an Extreme Recon with 35s that has a 392 powertrain, I don't think any Bronco would be able to keep up with me from an off-road perspective. And I'm sure people are going to call me out in the comment section for saying that, but solid axles just win with off-roading because you just have articulation, okay? Articulation is king with off-roading. But yeah, I think that would be a pretty cool thing to have for the channel because then I'd be able to do tons of comparisons with them, and I could do some cool stuff with the Badlands where like I change out the shocks, for example. They have those new Fox shocks that are available in the Wild Track. I'm sure I could figure out something to get those shocks on a Badlands instead of a Wild Track, and so then that would help out with, absorption off-road, and that would frankly make it, a quote-unquote budget Bronco Raptor, and so I think that that would be just absolutely fantastic. Now, there is a few things going against the Bronco. So first thing, I actually already owned a Bronco. I had a first edition for about a week, and if you guys don't know the backstory behind this, I'm just going to give like the quick 30 to 60 second version of the story. So basically, I ordered a Bronco the second that they announced that they're going to make a new Bronco. I was at the Ford store while the announcement was happening because I knew Ford basically said, hey, we're finally going to officially unveil this, and so I was at the store so I could get my order in right away, and I ordered the first edition. And I thought that I would get it, in a pretty timely manner, like 6 to maybe 12 months. That didn't happen. It took a lot longer than that. Mine kept getting pushed back because of the whole hard top issue. And so because it kept getting pushed back, I decided to order the new Gen 3 Raptor because I'm like, I got to have a new vehicle on the channel because I've just had I had the Ram TRX at the time. I've had the same vehicle for such a long time. I need something else to make content on. And so I ordered the Gen 3 Raptor, and the Raptor came in pretty much quicker than the Bronco. Not exactly, but from a timeline perspective, but in terms of landing, the Bronco basically landed at the dealership, and then the Raptor came in like a week or a week and a half later. And we knew that that was going to happen with how everything was progressing from the factory. And so I had to make a choice. Do I want to keep the Bronco or do I want to keep the Raptor? And since my channel has such a huge Raptor following, I chose to keep the Raptor at the time. Now, I do regret that because I could have stretched things a little bit financially back then and I could have made it work. But everything's hindsight is always 20/20, right? As they say. And so that is something that's actually going against the Bronco, in my personal opinion, because I already technically owned one. Now, I didn't do a whole build with it and do any off-roading with it or any of that kind of stuff, but I did an off-road series with the Bronco out in Texas at the Bronco Off Rodeo, and frankly, people didn't really care that much. It didn't get that many views, which I was kind of surprised by. And I've reviewed a bunch of different packages on the Bronco, and some of them get okay views, but some of them don't exactly get a ton of views. And so it doesn't seem like there's a massive amount of interest for the Bronco on my channel. So that is something that does slightly go against it as well. And then on top of that availability, it would take forever to get this in. So if I went to the Ford store and basically put in a reservation to get an order, I might be able to get one within like a year and a half, 2 years, who knows. It's going to take forever. And by that time, I'm sure that I will maybe have figured something out with the Bronco Raptor where I have that on order. And so then it'll almost be like pointless to get this Bronco. But I mean, still something. Now, obviously people say that, well, why not look at a used one? I don't want to pay massive premiums over sticker. It doesn't make sense for me from a channel perspective because I don't keep these vehicles for a super long time. And so if I were to pay way over sticker to buy a used one, then I would just be losing all of that money. Whatever I paid over sticker for, I'm probably going to lose all of that money, especially since the used car market is continuing to decline. So that also doesn't really make sense to me as to from that perspective. It makes more sense to buy new rather than used. And so there's a lot going for and against the Bronco. And so I guess that we will kind of sum things up for this little video. So first off, it would be a really cool vehicle to have for the channel because it would be a direct competitor to what I have in the garage right now with the Wrangler. I know a lot of people say that, well, the Bronco Raptor is the direct competitor. Well, again, hard to get. If I could get one, I would. And then top that, it could be a pretty good family vehicle because it's got good backseat space. It's got good trunk space. If I get the four-door, which is what I would get a four-door, not a two-door. And then the independent front suspension means that it's a little bit more daily drivable. And I bet it'll probably get better fuel economy than the Wrangler because the Wrangler has a 6.4 Hemi and the Bronco has a 2.7 V6. And so I think the turbocharged V6 will probably be a little bit better on the fuel economy side of things. And then there are some cool modifications I could do. I could do like 37s. I recently reviewed a Bronco with 37s. It had like a lift in 37s. That could be fun, different shocks, just make it a lot more capable than it already is straight out of the box. And so there's all that going for it. And then obviously going against it, it'd be very hard to get a Bronco at this point. It would take quite a bit of time. I already technically owned one, so it's not like I'm bringing something new to the channel. I kind of already know the interest level in the Bronco, and it doesn't seem like there's a huge interest level with the Bronco. And my guess, my personal guess as to why there's not a huge interest level is people know that it's so hard to get a Bronco, and so I think that it makes people less interested in the vehicle. It sounds like counterintuitive because you think that people want what they can't have, but I've noticed a shift in buyers. I've noticed that like a few years ago, people always wanted like the special whatever of a vehicle because it was like super exclusive, but now people don't want that. People just like want a vehicle if it's capable. And you know, the Bronco is super capable, but then people are like, oh, well, I have to pay either a huge price premium or I'm not gonna get one for years. So I'm not really interested. I've kind of noticed that shift with buyers. I've noticed it with the Bronco, also with the Raptors as well, because I've had a bunch of people message me saying that, well, they were interested in the Raptor, but once they saw the price and the wait list and all that kind of stuff, they lost all their interest. And it's another video I'm going to have to make for another day. But yeah, a lot going for it and a lot going against it. I want you guys to give me your thoughts as to the Bronco, if that should be the vehicle that I add to the channel. And with that being said, I will see all of you in the next video.